I'm gonna give you guys my top 5 reasons on why I think frozen thaw is the way to go for your pet snake. Tune in and let's get to it. Look at my boas. See, they thought it was their time to eat, and it wasn't. Oh, that little mouse, right? That little mouse. They can smell it. They ready. That's good. It's not time to eat, homie. Okay, fam. So today I was hanging out in one of the groups that I'm in. I think like on Facebook. Anyways, I was in that group, and somebody posted. They said, "Hey, like, what do I do? I am petrified of rats, and I have a ball python, and I need to feed it rats. What do I do?" And I immediately responded to them. I was like, "Yo, you should try frozen thaw." You know, it really made me kind of want to touch on this topic again. You know, the benefits of like frozen thaw versus live. I mean, once again, these are captive bred animals. So, you know, they live in tanks, or, enclosures like their whole life. They're not in the wild. So with that being said, I'm talking about captive bred snakes, not wild caught. Like wild caught, I don't know. I don't own wild caught snakes or animals in general. So I couldn't really tell you about their dietary habits, but I would imagine even with the wild caught, you still could simulate a frozen thaw. Frozen thaw should still work, I would imagine. First one is you totally avoid, escape. I've heard stories where people have fed their snakes live, and then somehow the rodent would escape because the snake wasn't hungry, and then they have a loose rodent in their house, and they would panic and like, what do I do? I have a rat escaped, and what do I do? And immediately I'm just like, frozen thaw. So number 2, purely safety. I would say like your snake, when you're feeding, I guess like a live mouse even, they're not really that dangerous, but they can be, but they're really not that dangerous. But it's like once you get to rats are very different. They're gonna protect themselves, and so their teeth are very, very, very sharp, and so it's, they can kill your snake is what I'm trying to say. And so that's like another big reason for me, like, it's a big investment, and it makes no sense to me, like, risking your investment, like, your snake possibly dying, it's just, to me, it's just not worth it. And there's no judgment on those who do choose to do live feedings. It's just, for me personally, the risk factor, it doesn't, it's just too dangerous, I feel like, and it's just not worth it to me. So a lot of people will say, hey, like, live is a little bit better because, well, that's what they do in the wild. And true, but once again, these are not wild caught animals. These are captive bred animals. So, and you're feeding a domestic mouse. It's not a wild caught mouse. So it's two different situations, I find. When you go buy a little feeder mouse, that's a domestic mouse. That's not a like wild mouse. Those are two different things. And I don't ever advise feeding your snakes wild caught mice because they can have a lot of parasites and all kinds of nasty stuff. So the reason why, breeders, breed mice versus, us just grabbing them from the wild. That leads us into the third reason. And the third reason I would say is, frozen thaw is just more humane, straight up. Like, most breeders, I can't say, I'm sure there's probably some, bad breeders that are out there, but the ones that I get my frozen rats and mice from is definitely humane. They do CO2 gas and they fall asleep. So that's it. So it's humane, it's safe, it's cool. To me, feeding a live animal to another live animal in an enclosure, I find that's not fair and that's not humane to me. And I think that's not even a realistic situation, right? Now, if these were out in the wild, once again, that's a totally different situation. But once again, these are pets, and I just think that frozen thaw is just way easier in that regard. Okay, so number 4 is that they're super easy to store. So it's really easy to kind of prepare for like a month, 2 months worth of food. And I love that. So it's like you don't have to constantly keep going to the pet store or the reptile store. I remember my first ball python I had when I was in college. You know, we were feeding a lot. We had live feeding because back then we just didn't know, right? And so I just remember like every week, you know, having to go to Petco, and it was just like, oh man, I gotta go to Petco. You know, it was just like that every week, and that would kind of like burn you out a little bit. Another great reason to go frozen thaw, just because you now don't have to take constant trips to the store. It's just you can store a whole bunch if you want. You know, so for months, honestly. Number 5, this is the last reason. So the last reason I think it's really cool is that you can change their diet. There's so many different types of frozen prey items. So you have like quail, you have chicks, like little chickens, you have rabbits. There's a whole bunch of different varieties and selections. I would just suggest doing research before you do decide to try to give your snake something different, just to make sure that you know it's okay, but you know that it's okay within their diet. Just be careful, you know. But from what I've been researching, I'm gonna try some different prey items pretty soon. I think we're gonna try like quail, you know, try to do something different for my boas because, you know, as you know or may know, our birds are also in their diet. So it'd be kind of interesting to try something different. And so, yeah, we're gonna try that. The only fear I've always had with trying something like off the menu is if they get hooked, right? So if they become hooked to quail and that's all they wanna eat, that's like, makes me a little nervous. That's what I'm gonna try with my boas because they love to eat. And so I doubt I should have that problem, but just be careful. If you do that with ball pythons, I definitely think he might have a problem. So I'm gonna keep Bubba on what, you know, his rat. Keep him on rat, because if you switch them, you know, you could have issues getting them to eat again of the other prey item. So be careful of that. So that does it, fam. Those are my top 5 reasons on why I think frozen thaw is like the best thing for your pet snake. And so yeah, now we're gonna go ahead with the feeding. We're gonna go and feed my Brazilian Rainbow Boa Skittles up here. But the funny thing about feeding Skittles is that I have to go find her. So she likes to burrow herself in her substrate because that's like where it's the most humid, 99% humidity. And so she's tucked away somewhere in there, and you know, I have to find her. So give me a second, I'm gonna go find her, and we're gonna feed her. So as you can see, I was able to pull her out. And now she's kind of just like blending on top of her substrate. But in a second, I'm gonna feed her. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You know, just my personal view as to like my top 5 reasons why I feed my snakes frozen thaw. And yeah, once again, I'm not judging anyone who feeds their animals live. That's their prerogative, you know, no judgment. I just don't recommend it, that's all. Anyways, so that does it, fam. Thanks again for watching. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. And, you know, feel free to drop a comment, you know, if you have any questions, or if you want to, I don't know, if you feel some type of way about my top 5 reasons, you know, put in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion. Yeah, and so that does it, fam. Hope you guys have a great night or great morning, wherever you're at. Until next time, Blkhippiee out. Peace.